call the October 7th meeting of the BZA to order. And we'll do a roll call.
All right. Mr. Gear.
Here.
Mr. Roberts.
Here.
Mr. Foley.
Here.
Ms. Hand.
Here.
Mr. Cole. Ms. LaBeouf.
Here.
Ms. Smith. All right. 5 present.
And we don't have the minutes of September 2nd, or did I sign that? Is that what I signed?
The September
Is that the
2nd
second one?
minutes
Okay.
were submitted
Yeah.
in your package.
Oh. See, I didn't bring the package. I just brought all the bylaw stuff. Did anybody? No. No, it's okay. I was, really looking short meeting. So has anyone had a chance to read the minutes? Any changes or omissions or additions?
I looked at them, I thought they looked really good, as always.
I was going to read them yesterday, but since I knew we weren't going to have the case, I just kind of bailed on that. So let me have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 2nd, 2021 meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, my back. Who made the motion? Ms. Hand second.
I did.
You made.
Just put me down.
You made the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll
Very
own
good.
that
Thank
to
you.
it.
Good.
And I have no communications. Vice Chair, do you have any?
There are none.
Okay. And old business case has been carried over, withdrawn. So now we're up to updates to the rules and procedures and bylaws. So, Ms. Williams, can you direct us to anything you might have changed this time from what Mr. Roberts sent out? You said there were a couple of little things?
I really think the only things I changed after Mr. Roberts sent his revisions, I added the preamble, which is on page 1, or it's showing as page 3. I'm going to change the pagination so that the resolution is, and I added the resolution to the front.
Oh,
But-
okay.
But that's something that you can do or you cannot do. It's up to you. And then I added the preamble, and then I think that's about it. Everything else that might have been changed would have simply been spacing and things like that.
Okay.
Nothing. Oh, I did, there, I changed the spelling of fire marshal. And I think that's the only thing. But the version I printed out shows all of my changes and the ones that Mr. Roberts made.
I like the resolution on the front, and are we going to put the copy in the packet, so if someone asks for a copy of our bylaws, that this will be sent with it?
Oh, what the
The state law?
The state, I can put it in there if you want. I can add to the resolution that in accordance with the state law that is, or that section and that it's attached. You want me to do that?
I would like that.
Okay.
I have referred a couple of people to y'all to get copies of our bylaws, but I don't know if they did, but I would like this.
To have the state law in it?
Yes.
Okay.
I learned a lot of things from a certain case we had this year. So it's
So-
good to have all the.
Do what?
I learned a few things from a certain case, and I would like to have as much
Uh-huh,
information with the packet
yes.
as possible, if someone should ask for it.
Well, it does say in, the resolution does say in accordance with the provisions of section 115280. So, and then I'll just, Code of Alabama 1975. So I'll just put attached.
That's great. Because when I quoted that verbally, I was asked to find it for them.
Oh.
You know,
Yes.
Yeah. so. All right. So does anyone have any more questions or concerns about these, or y'all feel like we're ready to?
I guess I had a question. I'm just
Okay.
looking through, and I hadn't focused on the language as much. And I'm probably not focusing especially well right now, but, under membership in 2B, it talks about 2 supernumeraries appointed by the city council to live in any ward. However, she must reside in a specific ward where a position becomes open for a regular member when that member decides not to serve.
Right.
When she says her current term, should the supernumerary desire to take that position. I want to make sure I understand what that says. Is that saying that if the supernumerary member resides in a ward where a position is being vacated either for whatever reason, that the supernumerary, for lack of a better term, has like first option at that spot?
Yes.
Is that the way that's always been?
No.
Okay.
But it is in other places, and it kind of gives the supernumerary the ability to move up, where in some places, when board members always show up, the supernumerary gets to do nothing. It just kind of gives them an opportunity to move into a voting position as a regular member if, they kind of get first right of refusal. Or they should be considered.
More strongly.
Yeah, it
They
may
should-
be the city council obviously appoints
Right.
the board, so it may be, the emphasis being that consideration shall be given first to the supernumerary, subject to the final approval of the city council, though. So
Or-
the board, we can't say.
Or they would appoint a supernumerary, they would not appoint, they would be appointing somebody to fill a supernumerary position.
There was,
I'm not sure the bylaws
A
can dictate that
time
he
when
will assume, because it has to be
that
subject
was
to
not
city council
allowed.
ultimately. But I think the
There was a
preference
time
should
when
be
that was not
given
allowed?
to that.
there was an instance
Okay, well,
where
okay, no.
a
if-
supernumerary
that's fine.
wanted to take an open position that was in the person's ward, and that was, I don't know how, but it didn't happen. It's been a while
I
back.
can't speak as a supernumerary.
This is before your
but
time, so that's-
perhaps
you wouldn't know
there's a
that.
supernumerary who could speak to this, whether or not it matters. It may not be a thing. It just seemed to me that if they wanted to move into a voting as a full member instead of a supernumerary, that they should have the option if that option is available, or
But would they then start with the whole 2 terms available to them in that position, or do they?
I
They
mean,
would-
or, at the chair, it could be reworded so that if there is a supernumerary who would fit that position or in that ward and could fill the position, that
Typically,
They could,
if you have a
request it.
situation where someone's term ended before, someone left before his term ended, the person selected would fill the unexpired term, that he or she would still be eligible for full terms. So you could have someone serving 2 full terms and the unexpired term as
I
well.
am well aware,
Yeah,
because I
okay.
have a
I think
long
we've got a
outstanding
lot of that. Yeah, I
welcome
think
here.
That is not unheard of.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, there's
I'm-
a city
I'm
that I'm
already at
familiar
7
with
years,
where the chair
so.
has been the chair
Mm.
for over 15 years, you know, and the board keeps electing her chair. And I mean, when you've got a good board, then
Yeah,
I think it's great.
okay, I mean, I just,
Um,
but if we have
do
it
you
in
want
here,
it stricken, or do you want to reword it, or do you not want it, I mean, what, do you want it, is it just something you don't wanna do? I didn't know that there had been a past incident, so I'm not familiar with all
well,
of
the
that.
person wanted it but was not allowed to take it.
Because they were not in the ward.
They were in the ward.
They were in the ward, okay.
They weren't allowed because they,
I
Well,
have a feeling-
allowed.
It's up to
only-
the city council, but
Yeah, I was
you
about
could
to
word
say,
it
I
so
think
that preference should be given to this, subject to approval by the city
Right.
council.
I
Yeah.
think it's
That's all you can really say.
non-binding on the
Right.
city council,
That,
city
that's
council.
right, subject
Yeah.
to the approval of the
I
city
think- yeah.
council, that preference should be given.
I mean, I don't personally care. I mean, whatever the board wants to do is fine with me. I'm just
allow
saying,
comma, subject to. Okay.
I just don't want to get on
Um,
council's bad list by saying,
Yeah, we can't.
Phooey, you don't have any power in this.
That's right, council has the
I
power,
think that the
ultimate
statute
power,
would
but
have
it should be,
Well, in some cities, though, supernumeraries roll into those positions. City council would,
Bless it.
ratified.
De facto
would
approve.
all
the
automatic.
position, you know, so that when city council filled the position, they went into the supernumerary position.
Okay.
So they're still filling a position, it's just a supernumerary, and then when this person who is in that position now serves their term or leaves or whatever, then the supernumerary would move into their.
Yeah, and I don't know how many times it would happen that the supernumerary would live in that
Well,
person's.
most places
Yeah.
don't go by ward because they're not political, this is not a political board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can never remember, I think, I know I'm either in 3 or 4, four's across, 4 or 3's across the street. Nick Sims is that Ward 3?
That's 3.
Okay, I'm in 3 then. I just remember.
Well, it's just that, you know,
Yeah, Brady, yeah.
I'm in the
You're not-
hinterlands of the other side of Green Springs, so I know where I am.
since your decisions are not based on politics or in any way, it shouldn't matter where you live.
This is fine with me, yeah. This
So
is
I can,
fine.
but I can do, all right,
That's fine with me, if it's fine with everybody else. I mean, we've been all looking at each other, and you two have been sitting there with, looking at our backs, so.
I like listening. Plus, it's kind of fun because when Ty leaves and you're in Ward 3, this is like for you.
Well, it's,
Type Ward 3?
uh-huh, you got to the 11th to apply for it.
hippity hop.
So, anyway. Okay. Anything else?
You want to clarify the stray his references? Section 9 says the chairperson or in his absence, the vice chairperson. We're going he, she across the board.
His, I mean, it should be, it's her, yeah. No, that's,
The chairperson or in their absence.
Well, just make it match everything else.
In 9, where the
Section
chairperson
9,
or
par-
in his,
first-
her absence.
Mhm.
We're doing his, her the whole way, right? His, her,
Yeah,
okay.
Section 16(2), order of business, C, zoning administrator or his, her designated representative.
section C.
16, C, see, 16.
16B, sub 2, sub C.
Oh, okay,
16B,
Her.
sub 2.
okay.
Or is her. Okay,
You can do a search for all the he's and,
yeah,
And just-
I think I did, I just searched for he and I did.
well, sometimes
Yeah.
there's so many, you just
I'll
miss
do a
them.
search for his and her and see what I come up with.
Yeah.
Section 24 has the same thing.
I'm gonna write on the front, search his and her.
All he, her, his should be
Search
she,
his.
hers,
And her.
Him,
and
hers.
Make it his, her.
whatever.
Okay.
And then there's a himself.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do a search.
Yeah, I'll do a search for all things male and female.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Nope.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second, anybody? Thank you, Matt. Mr. Foley?
Okay.
And Foley.
Do we
All
need-
right. All right, Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Gear,
Yes.
Ms. Hand,
Yes.
Mr. Foley,
Yes.
and Ms. LaBeouf.
Yes.
Okay.
And under new business, the consideration of an extension of the permitting timeline for approved variances beyond the 12-month period currently allowed. Mr. Goodwin or Ms. Williams, y'all want to just give us a little brief on that?
We've had, I think we can all agree that the last year and a half has been unusual. And it has come to our attention that some of the approved variances have not gone forward with, or the applicants haven't gotten their building permits yet because of the cost of materials is currently high. They've had a difficult time getting contractors, just different roadblocks that have caused some problems. Staff is asking that you consider extending from all of the cases that were approved, I think, what month is this? So this would be
October.
From September of 2020 until now, until this meeting, grant an extra 6 months. And then from this point forward, if you would consider maybe the first time being 9 months instead of 6 months, and then a 6-month extension, an automatic extension,
Mhm.
by them writing in. Just, it's something that you have the power to do without any kind of big fanfare. I mean, it states that you can do it, let me see, unless otherwise specified by the board. A special exception or variance authorized by the board shall expire if the applicant fails to obtain a building permit pursuant thereto within 6 months from the date of approval by the board, provided, however, that the applicant may make a written request to the board by letter to the secretary of the board for one extension of 6 months, which extension will be automatically granted by the board without further action unless a variance is requested or has been granted on property adjacent to or adjoining the applicant's property during the time after the expiration of the first 6-month period, but before a written request for an extension is made by the applicant. So we're just asking that you consider that first 6 months to be 9 months, or whatever you feel comfortable doing. If you wanted, it just says that after that first 6 months, that they can make a request for one extension of 6 months. I think it's easy to change, the first time period. It's easier to do that than to try to change all of them, So if you wanted to give 9 months instead of 6 months, I think it's reasonable to, because that would be what, a total, it's just giving an extra
3 months.
3 months.
Have you found that that would help? 3 months?
I think an extra 6 months. Would you be comfortable granting an extra 6 months for the ones now, which would give them a total of 18 months? And then, starting from here forward, you can do whatever you want to do. You can make that decision at the next meeting. You can ask them, are you ready to go? Do you have, or you can, because it doesn't have to be in your bylaws or your rules of procedure. It says, unless otherwise specified by the board. So the board can specify at the meeting what time you want to give them.
Okay.
By speaking with the applicant. But it's just something that I think we should be aware of and try to accommodate these people.
And from what I'm reading, this is gonna continue for another year or two.
It may
You know,
continue
the
for a little while,
shortages.
but it's just, since it's already been stated that they had a certain time, a time limit to get their permits for the ones that have already been approved this year, we hate for them to have to
Do the whole
reapply and go through the whole thing again if we can avoid that. Especially, the approvals are approved, so.
Have you gotten any letters from folks requesting the additional 6 months?
We've had a couple of phone calls, and then we did reach out to one other one that we did not have a permit for, to find out if they were having problems. And they believe that they will be able to meet the time limit, but, they were gonna be rushed. So there are 3 that we know of. I'm not sure if there are other people out there having the same kind of moment of panic.
I've received 2 cases in which we've granted them one 6-month extension. Another one recently, it went past the year, and so that became another issue here. But there have been at least 2 instances I'm familiar with that we have received letters and they have been granted that 6-month extension. As far as I know, they're hopeful of being able to comply with that. My only question, I wasn't quite sure. Henceforth, we're going to do it on a case-by-case basis. So as each case comes up, a decision will be made and said, okay, we're going to give you 9 months because you think you've got problems, and the other person says, no, I think I can do it within the 6-month time. So are we just saying henceforth it will be this amount of time? I wasn't quite sure where we're going.
We're creating all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
It's going to be trying to
Yeah, I think it's
keep
just
up with
to you.
individual
You can do whatever
cases.
you want to do was my point.
So right,
Yeah.
right now they have 180 days, 6 months, right?
Yeah,
Right.
and then they can automatically get another 6 months.
One more
if they
6-month
want.
extension beyond that. But we're saying because of the hardships imposed by the pandemic and other issues, consideration being given to say instead of just that first 6 months, give them 9 months with the eligibility for one more 6 months beyond
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I would suggest just give them a year to start off with, and then if they want a 6 months extension.
I think that's fair. I
Yeah,
don't think
I
that's
like that. I
unreasonable
like
at all.
that better.
Okay. Then,
And-
that would give them
And I'd rather make that temporary than
Right,
a
it
rule.
wouldn't, it doesn't have to be temporary. That's what I'm saying, at each meeting,
'Cause-
you can state, instead of, you've got to get your permit in 180 days, you can say, you've got
360.
one, you know, you've got a year to get your permit, a year from today.
Would it not be easier to keep it as is and then just say you can apply for a second extension?
No, because that would, I think that,
That changes, like,
I think that's, yeah, that changes the bylaws more, or the
Yeah,
rules of
maybe.
procedure. If we don't want to do that, because they're allowed to request 1 6-month extension, which would be, you know, in writing, which would be automatically approved. And then they can, request, what is it, Fred? The second one, they have to come back or something, if they don't do it by the end of that 6 months.
Yeah.
And they have to come back to the board and,
That's right,
So-
that's the issue, they've
Yeah.
got to reapply for another variance. If the
Mm.
year expires, you've
So
got
it's
to come
really
back
just
right
the-
now. But to your point, are you saying
just change
one
the
year
first
up
one.
front, and then you're eligible for one more 6-month extension beyond the 1 year?
Is that
Yeah, yeah.
not in line with the way it's
That-
Yeah, I
currently
think-
operates?
That would be considered, you're just
That would be,
giving them an
yeah,
extra
that's-
6 months, is what you're doing.
So, you know, the first 6 months would be 12 months.
Yeah,
But-
and then eligibility for one more 6 months beyond the 1 year, which will give you a year and a half to get a.
But all we're asking for tonight is that the cases that were approved between, you know, September and now, September of 20 and, today, really, September of 21, that, those cases be given an extension of 6 months to get their permits.
You know, that might be better, and just see if we get more and
Yeah, because
lump
other
sum
than
them
those
in instead of.
examples.
Because
2
I
or
don't know
3.
that I want to
2 or
just tell them
3.
up front, you got a year and a half, then they might get slow.
So of the ones we've dealt with in the last year,
They get an
we've
extra 6
gotten
months.
2 letters saying,
Good.
hey, can we have an additional
Actually,
6?
actually, we've gotten 3.
And
That's
we've,
it.
and we've spoken to one person on the phone.
And told them what the procedure is for getting an extension.
Well, we just asked them if they were having difficulties, did they think that they were gonna meet it, 'cause, and, they were having difficulties, and they believed that they would be able to meet their requirement, but they weren't sure, and we told them what the process was. But, we just kinda thought that it would relieve some of the stress of having to rush quite as much as they knew they had an extra 6 months.
yeah. Isn't,
And you
isn't,
don't even have to do this for the next, from here on, if you don't want to. If you feel like,
Well, I think
it's
if there's
just,
a.
we
ne-
know that right now we are having a crunch. We've got some people who are in,
this is just like a technicality, but wouldn't September, a year from September, end in August? Wouldn't it start like November 2020 for it to be the year?
It would have been October 4th, 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever that was, until the next October, 3rd, 4th, 5th, the day before. So,
Yeah, I'm just saying it's not September.
right, whatever that is, but,
Or one or more of the applicants we're talking about, September of 2020 applicants? People who have applicants.
now the dates, I don't even know. But, whatever the technical 1-year time period would be from today, which would be, you know, October the 7th at 6:30 PM, 2020.
2020.
So
until-
essentially, you're asking, what you're suggesting or recommending is an increase to the original period from 6 months to 1 year, with that change being retroactive to September 2020.
Yes.
If We can do that.
You
Yeah.
can.
I mean,
Yeah,
if
I'm-
we can do
I'm
that,
fine that.
That's just a simple.
Because that way we're up through,
Then we're just changing a rule, and we're saying the effective date of that rule is.
Because it
September
says,
1,
you know,
2020.
that you can do that. And
yeah,
so-
and then if we find,
And
and
then,
then in another 6 months, you find that there's still a need,
then you can do it again.
I'll be at
or
home
not.
watching y'all on Zoom and you can do what you want.
You know, I just think it would be helpful for those applicants to
Yeah.
have an extra 6 months.
Yeah, I don't have
Yeah.
a problem with that, because I know people that are stressing a bit over pricing and availability and
Pricing
things
right
for
now
something.
is kind
Yeah.
of high, and it is making, I mean, it's
Yeah.
making people have to wait, and
Mhm.
I think also like we could talk about like when we stop doing this, that we should wean it off, like not go from a year back down to 6, but like go from 12 to 11 to 10 so it's, you know, so the.
I don't,
I don't even
I
think that's
personally don't.
necessary. I don't even know that you have to do anything beyond today, for, you know,
Right,
for
it may
the
not
the
come
ones that
up
have been
again,
previously
yeah.
approved. We can see how it goes. If, we've got 4 cases for next month, and if everything, you know, starts rocking right along and it's good, then,
Oh, yeah, I was just,
but we kind, you know, it's just something that we were just noticing.
yeah, I was just concerned that like if someone got approved today, they would have 18 months and then next month they would only have a year. That's all. If we decided to.
Well, I don't know
Not
that
do
we,
it.
that's a decision you can make later. I
Yeah,
just,
I think
Yeah,
that's
I think if
a can
it's,
we can kick.
if we
I
need,
don't know
you
if
know,
we
you've
need
got
to
a year
wean
to decide
anybody,
if
but
it- to know whether or not that works.
Not necessarily.
Well,
If we
'cause
decide
they
to
get a
stop
year.
it next month.
Yeah, but I'm saying, if they get approved next month, because we don't have one this month, then they've got a year, and it may be that they don't need any more.
I don't see the harm in a year anyway. It's
Yeah.
like you approve the case, you prove
I
the
mean, most
case.
people are
Yeah, I don't-
jumping at the
yeah.
bit to get
Is it
moving.
because
There's-
Right.
I know we're in
Change.
circumstances that are different.
I mean, the only ones that are gonna be slow are the ones that don't have a total plan, totally, all the
In a
finishes and
commercial-
everything done, you know, and that,
Well, they weren't gonna do anything until they knew they could get. the-
right, that's what I mean,
all the other
you know,
stuff.
and of course, some people, you know, get further along before
well,
they
most
do
people
that.
don't
than
even
others.
realize that they need a variance until they apply for a building permit, but by then they've got their building plans.
Right,
You know, commercial especially, you know, they're not gonna invest in the money in
yeah,
their civil drawings until they know that they've
Right.
got their variance, and then it's gonna take a while.
yeah,
So,
yeah, I watched that, that was pretty loose, you know, but I understand, because they gotta do that, that's, you know, the first time he came to us with the gold nugget thing, then it was a
Right.
lot looser than the second
That's,
time.
that's one that has requested a 6-month extension, was the Gold Nugget property for the
I
townhouses.
figured they had.
and if we're
but
gonna
it's-
say that you know, we're gonna grant, that you're gonna grant 1 year, which would have been an additional 6 months, then do you want to back it up 6, you know, we shouldn't need to, because those would have already
You would have heard from
expired,
them by
but
now, yeah, you would
I
have
don't
heard
know
from
that
them.
we've got any that, didn't get their permit,
Yeah,
but we
I
can
think-
check. We
I
can
think
look
it's
to
just-
see if somebody didn't get their permit because of the current situation, and they were just like, you know, no point.
yeah,
I mean, I think if people aren't inquiring and let the time lapse and
that's,
6 months later wake up, I think they need to come back and see us. But I think that they're not diligent enough to follow up.
right.
I
Okay,
think it's the people who are anxious to know the deadline's coming up and just can't for whatever reason get there that we should be.
okay.
I'm with you.
But you're okay with
Can
it?
I,
Sure.
I'll
You-
make a motion to
Yeah.
approve
That-
changing
Okay.
the permitting period, from 180 days to 360 days, retroactive to September 1, 2020.
Okay,
Is that,
perfect.
Does it have to be 365?
Okay.
I don't know.
Are we gonna do the
I
technicality
second,
again?
I second that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, sounds
All
good to
right.
me.
We heard, the board heard the motion, or,
Mhm.
okay. All right.
September 1st, 2020.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Gear,
Yes.
Ms. Hand,
Yes.
Mr. Foley,
Yes.
and Ms. LaBeouf.
Yes. All right. Anything else, folks? If not, we are adjourned.